We had been engaged for 7 months and together for almost 4 years. She went to a wedding out of state without me. The bride was an old friend from college, and I couldn't go because of work obligations. It didn't bother me at the time. She went, had fun, sent me pictures of her outfits, FaceTimed me from the reception. Everything seemed normal. Then, 2 days after she got back, we were sitting on the couch when she turned to me and said, "I need to tell you something." That sentence alone knocked the wind out of me. I froze. My gut told me this was bad. Really bad. She told me she kissed someone at the wedding. At first I didn't say anything. I just stared at her, trying to process what I'd heard. She said, she didn't sleep with anyone. It was just a kiss. She said it was a woman, someone she'd known from college, and it just kind of happened. She started crying, saying she was confused about her sexuality and felt like she needed to be honest with me about it. I still didn't say anything. I didn't yell, didn't cry, didn't throw things. I just stood up and walked out of the apartment. I needed to breathe. Later that night, we sat down to talk again. I asked why. Why did this happen? She said she'd been questioning her sexuality for a while, but never told me because she was scared. She said being at the wedding, seeing old friends, drinking, dancing, it all felt liberating, like she could finally explore a side of herself that she'd suppressed for years. I asked her if she loved me. She said yes. I asked her if she wanted to marry me. She paused. That pause was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. She eventually said she did want to marry me, that she was just confused, and that the kiss meant nothing, that it was a spur-of-the-moment thing, and it would never happen again. But I couldn't unhear that pause. I didn't sleep that night, or the next one. I kept thinking about how everything had suddenly changed. I kept thinking about how she made a decision that jeopardized everything we had, just for a moment of exploration. Over the next few days, we talked a lot. Some conversations were calm, others ended with me storming out or her slamming a door. She kept saying she was sorry, that she still wanted to be with me, and that she wanted to make things work. I started questioning myself. Was I overreacting? Was this something we could move past? But the thing that stuck in my head was that she kissed someone else, hid it from me, then only confessed when the guilt ate at her. And even then, she didn't tell me everything up front. She waited 2 whole days after getting home. 2 days of kissing me, cuddling with me, telling me she loved me, while holding that secret. We eventually agreed to postpone the wedding and start counseling. I thought maybe we could rebuild. I thought maybe this was just a bump in the road. I was wrong. The first counseling session was a disaster. I walked into the therapist's office, my heart racing. I wasn't sure what I expected, but it definitely wasn't what I got. As soon as I stepped in, I saw the large pride flag hanging on the wall, and a part of me felt my stomach drop. The therapist seemed nice at first. She smiled, welcomed us, and then immediately dove into what she called Betty's awakening. She spent the next hour glossing over the cheating. It was like it didn't matter. She barely acknowledged how much this had hurt me, instead focusing on how I needed to support Betty through her journey of self-discovery. I couldn't believe it. I felt like I was sitting in a room full of strangers who didn't see me at all. I looked over at Betty, hoping she would stand up for me, maybe say something that would make me feel like she cared about how I was doing. But there was nothing. She just sat there, nodding, completely detached. That was the moment I felt completely alone in this. The therapist barely even glanced in my direction. And Betty, she didn't defend me. She didn't even say anything that made me feel like she was on my side. It was like I was invisible. The session ended with the therapist suggesting that Betty explore her sexuality, whatever that meant, but there was no talk about rebuilding trust, no discussion about my feelings, or how to work through the betrayal. It felt like they were all more concerned about her than me. When we left, I didn't say much. On the drive home, Betty tried talking to me, but I was done. I gave her the 3 responses I'd been repeating over and over. Sure, nope, and maybe. It was like I had nothing left to say. Later that week, I got a call at work. It was Betty's mom. She wanted to know why we were postponing the wedding. She'd already started planning and was upset about it. I told her that Betty had kissed someone at the wedding. That was why things were on hold. Her response was harsh. She told me I needed to suck it up and move past it. She even blamed me, saying I should have gone to the wedding with Betty, as if that would have fixed anything. I hung up on her. Less than an hour later, Betty called me, demanding to know what I'd said to her mum. I told her exactly what happened. Nothing more, nothing less. But what really got me was when Betty's mum sent me this massive text, demanding that I just forgive and forget, claiming that I was at fault for not supporting Betty. I showed the text to Betty when she got home and told her that if her mum kept coming at me like this, I would tell her everything. Betty said she'd handle it, but I didn't hold my breath. If anything, I was just getting more and more exhausted. A few days later, something else happened that sent me spiraling. Betty had gotten unusually protective of her phone. I needed to charge mine, so I grabbed hers, but before I could plug it in, she rushed across the room and nearly yanked it out of my hand. It was strange. We'd always been open about our phones, but now I was left feeling suspicious. Later that night, I looked at our phone bill. There were multiple lengthy calls to a Colorado area code, the same area code as the woman she kissed at the wedding. That was when everything hit me like a ton of bricks. She was still in contact with the woman. This wasn't just a one-time mistake. It was an emotional affair, a betrayal. The worst part, I didn't know what to believe anymore. She had gaslighted me so much over the last few days. I wasn't sure if I was going crazy or if this was really happening. The worst part was that when we were intimate, it felt like she was distant, like she wasn't really there. And when she spoke to me, it felt empty. Words without meaning. Gestures without love. I was just done. At this point, I knew I couldn't do it anymore. I needed to leave. I wasn't going to waste any more time on a relationship that was built on lies and betrayal. Tomorrow, we were going to a cookout at her parents' house. I told myself I would keep my cool and not say anything. But when we got back, I was going to tell her. I was done. We got back from the cookout later than expected. I had planned for my sister to be at the house when we returned, as a witness to everything. But she had been delayed, so I had to wait a couple of hours. When we finally got home, I pulled Betty into the living room and I made my decision clear. I can't do this anymore, I said, my voice steady, but my heart was pounding. I've lost all trust in you. I don't see a way forward. The best thing for both of us is to just go our separate ways. She froze, her eyes wide. What are you talking about? I thought we were working through this. You kissed someone at your friend's wedding. You've been lying to me. You've been talking to her in secret. I can't keep pretending everything's fine. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. I'm done. Her face twisted with confusion, like she couldn't comprehend what I was saying. I've been honest with you. Since my confession, I've been open. I didn't want to get into the same argument we'd had 1,000 times already, so I cut her off. Were you in contact with the woman you kissed at the wedding? She paused and then said, No. I raised an eyebrow. You're lying. Spike, not lying. She sounded defensive, but it was too late for that. I'd seen the phone bills. I knew what was going on. Then let me see your phone, I demanded. She shook her head. No, that would violate my privacy. Fine, I said, my anger bubbling up. Then how do you explain the calls to a 720 area code? She didn't say anything. She knew she was caught. I gave her an ultimatum. You need to move out, or I will. You can keep the apartment, or I will take what's mine and go. But I'm done. She tried to change the subject, asking my sister to leave so we could talk alone. But I wasn't having it. I needed someone there to witness everything. For the next hour and a half, Betty cycled through every emotion, crying, getting angry, and finally, she seemed to calm down. It was like all the energy had drained out of her. By the time we were finished, it was nearly midnight. Betty made her decision. She would go back to her parents for a while. We packed her things together, and soon her dad and brother arrived to take them away. She tried one last time to convince me to try a different therapist, but I refused. There was no going back. I can't trust you anymore. There's no point in therapy. I'm done, I said, my voice firm. It was over. Final update. Betty was gone. All of her stuff was out of the apartment, and I'd made it clear to her that I wasn't taking her back. I'd blocked her on everything. Social media, phone, everything. No contact, no more lies. I didn't need closure. I didn't need explanations. I knew everything I needed to know. She had made her choices, and I wasn't going to sit around waiting for her to figure herself out. A few hours later, she texted me, asking if we could talk. I didn't respond. Friends and family tried to reach out, but I made it clear that I wasn't going back. I was done. The worst part was knowing that she'd tried to manipulate everyone around us. Her mum, her friends, even people at work, trying to make me the bad guy, but I didn't care anymore. In the end, I was at peace with my decision. I had support from my friends and family. They understood. And honestly, it felt good to finally make the choice that was right for me. I dropped off some of her stuff she left behind at her work the next day. She wanted to meet for dinner to talk, but I didn't need to talk anymore. I just wanted to move on. I've blocked her on everything, and I don't plan on ever contacting her again. It's over. She's gone, and so is the version of me that stayed in a toxic relationship for too long.